Now, the second thing I want to look at in style is the visceral intensity of Pig. Now, first of all, I'd like to read you this second section, which occurs page 58, and it's where we meet the second antagonist of the story, which is Chris. I walk out of the arts block to find Christopher Wright, school psycho and Steph's boyfriend, waiting for me. Hello, Morgan. Chris's voice is calm and pleasant, and he isn't even calling me Pig. I still feel like I've swallowed a watermelon. Hi, I manage. What the hell does Chris want with me? Steph tells me you've been flirting with her. I haven't, I say. I wouldn't. I can hear the desperation in my voice. The last person Chris caught chatting up Steph is still in hospital. I wouldn't flirt with Steph if she was the last girl alive. You've got to believe me. Chris smiles. I believe you, Morgan. I let out the breath I've been holding. Good, I say. Then I'll be off. Of course, he says, moving aside. Alex is standing behind Chris, grinning like a mini-me version of the Marquis de Sade. So is number 2 bully and his cohorts, Thug 1 and Thugger 2. I'm sure Stormin would be there too, but he lacks community spirit. I look back at Chris. He's still smiling. I've got one last question, Morgan. Attempt to keep breathing. What's that, Chris? Why don't you find Steph attractive? He looks concerned. Is there something wrong with her? Breathing attempt fails, and I can feel my mind scurrying for an answer. Chris steeples his fingers like a self-important social worker. Don't be shy, Morgan. Tell us what you feel about Steph. Alex giggles. All right. I draw in a breath, probably my last, and answer him. I hate her guts. Chris drops his hands. I brace myself for a Prometheus-style liver extraction. Chris only laughs. You know, Morgan, he says, throwing an arm across my shoulders, I could get to like you. Not if I can help it. I know I should be glad I'm not in hospital. I didn't even get beaten up. But there is no way, even if it cuts down on my quality time with Stormin, that I'm hanging around with Chris. So that's Chris, and as you can see, he completely terrifies Morgan, and you find out fairly soon on in this story exactly why he does and should terrify Morgan. One of the ways I've used to bring that across in the book is these descriptions of Morgan's breathing. Now, you may have heard of something called sympathetic breathing. If you haven't, try Googling it. But it's something that you use in meditation. It can be used to calm down young children who are overly distressed. It comes from the fact that not only when we breathe calmly, we calm ourselves, but we have this tendency to actually copy someone else's breathing when they're close to us. And I've used that fact in this book. I've deliberately talked about how Morgan is short of breath, how his breath catches in his throat. There are in fact 36 different references to breath in the book. And my idea with that is to actually create an almost sympathetic breathing response in the reader so that you also get caught up in that tension of what Pig is going through. Because it was my intention to create something that would let people really understand what it was like, and henceforth so that they would be actually compelled to do something about it. And so the people who had been bullied would feel that they really were understood. And that is what I'm using that visceral intensity for. The second thing you see in this piece is some of Morgan's dark humour. His comment about Stormin lacking community spirit. His description of number 2 bully and his cohorts, Thug 1 and Thug 2, which is a clear reference to the Dr. Seuss Thing 1 and Thing 2 book. And so this is a really good example of the two major stylistic things I have done in Pig, which is this combination of visceral intensity and dark humour. Now, I'll be talking about that more in later lectures, but I think for the moment we can leave style and move on to the second thing I wanted to discuss with this story, which is the plots and subplots you find in Pig.